Hello and welcome to Take the Black, your weekly podcast where we dive deep into the worlds of fantasy and science fiction, movies, TV, and books, and especially and always House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, A Song of Ice and Fire. Whatever's going on in the world of Westeros, we talk about it. And we're going to do that today because, holy shit, you guys, House of the Dragon is on, and there is another new episode. The gifts keep coming. As always, I am Daniel Roman, the editor of winteriscoming.net, and I'm psyched to be joined by my co-host, Marq Nettles of House of Nettles. How you doing, Mark?
I am doing good. We're finally got Team Black back in King's Landing, so this is the perfect time for us to have an 8-hour conversation.
Yeah, right? I think, there's stuff to talk about. I don't know how we're going to fill 8 hours, though, because this was an interesting episode. So the third episode, we're segueing it right there. This episode was a little different than anything we've ever seen from this show, from Game of Thrones. It almost kind of takes a page from A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms book and does a hard POV on one Rhaenyra Targaryen for almost the entire episode. So as always, we're going to dive right into this. The show's having a hot streak. The last episode, I don't know if you saw this, Mark, is the highest rated episode of the entire series on IMDb as of right now.
Wow, that's a big accomplishment. I don't know if it was it the highest for me. No, but was it?
Same.
A good 2 episodes. Okay, a solid opening to the season. Probably the strongest first 2 episodes since season 1. So shout out to House of the Dragon. Yeah.
Now I'm curious, if you had to pick one that you think is the highest rated, what would it be?
Oh my goodness. I can't remember the episode title. Probably the one with King Viserys walking up that Iron Throne, hobbly-legged, trying to defend his little baby girl.
Yeah, the Lord of the Tides, the 8th episode of season 1. Yeah, it's either that or Rook's Rest for me. Gotta be. Yeah. But the people have spoken, and for them it is Queen's Landing, which just aired. So what do we know? So this Queen's Landing was like a big sprawling episode. It was really supposed to be the finale of last season, is kind of what it seems like. But this third episode dials things way back. It is a hard POV on Rhaenyra. Aside from the intro, it has a cold open. The first time an episode has had a cold open since the series premiere. And then after that, it's all Rhaenyra all the time in her first days of ruling. So let's get right into it. And I'm going to ask you the all-important question that we usually kind of start with, which is, did you like this episode? Did you like that they took this big swing, and did it work for you?
This episode was a big swing focusing on Queen Rhaenyra, but I did enjoy it. Like I thought that was a unique set of storytelling for typically what we see from a Game of Thrones House of the Dragon show. Of course, that's what we get in Knight of the Seven Kingdoms because everything's focusing around Dunk. But just kind of a hone in on one character in this big, massive show. I did enjoy it.
Yeah, same. I think so. I've seen the first 4, and this was my favorite. I like this more than the Gullet. I like this more than the Fall of King's Landing. And like, it's a quieter episode. You know, it has very few dragons. The dragons only show up in the very beginning with that cold open with Daemon and Ormond, which we're going to talk about in a sec. But after that, no dragons, no people dying, nobody even getting maimed or injured or beaten up. This was all just political court intrigue with Rhaenyra, and something about them going that route. It just felt like they had a cool idea and they focused in on it. And it gave the episode a level of focus that I feel like some of them don't always have in this series. So yeah, I loved this episode.
Yeah, I felt stressed the whole time because Rhaenyra was feeling stressed. We were with that one character, and I was like, oh, the whole time, I'm like, oh, what's happening now? What does she have to deal with now? What about? I feel like I'm having to deal with it. Like I'm ruling King's Landing.
Yeah, and they did a lot of cool, like, subjective stuff to like really put you in that stress with her. Like, you know, the sound cuts out at different points, and like, you know, while it's zooming in on her face, or like Raymond Ramin Djawadi, his score, I feel like was one of the more interesting ones he's done in quite a while for this episode, where he's just really, really just driving home that stress at different points. Anytime someone comes up and just asks her for one more thing over and over and over again for an hour, you feel that. You're like, for the love of God, someone let this queen just take 5 minutes.
Oh, let me take them. I just took the throne. Get hell, but okay.
Yeah. So let's dial back for a sec, because we're going to be talking about Rhaenyra and King's Landing for this whole podcast episode, more or less. The cold open, Daemon and Ormond Hightower treating. Daemon asks Ormond to surrender. Ormond shockingly does, even though we find out by the end of the episode there's a little bit more to that. He hands over, this is air quotes for people listening on audio, Daeron Targaryen. And then we're launched into the episode proper. What do you think of the cold open?
Cold open by itself was interesting, and I wish, because I know people had a lot of leaks out there, and one of the things we're talking about, oh, a fake Daeron. Nobody comes up with that without having seen the episode. So, guys, keep it to yourself when you saw the episode prior for the future episodes. But it was interesting, because seeing him just, I'm like, there's no way you're just going to turn away your massive army. You were there to live, die, fight, and die for the king. And now you're like, all right, yeah, we're going to turn around. I care about my soldiers. I don't want them to die. I'm going to turn around. That's not what the high lords and ladies think about. It's all about glory and honor. And there is no glory in just turning around and going home.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how much honor there is in bending the knee and then breaking that either. That's the thing. I hope the show addresses that, because like Ormond bends the knee to Rhaenyra, and then by the end of the episode, of course, we find out he took Tumbleton. So he sent her. He must have anticipated when they heard the rumors that Rhaenyra had taken the throne, that he was going to get this meeting essentially at some point. So they hatch this fake Daeron plot line because he doesn't want to give him real Daeron, his one dragon rider he has. And yeah, I mean, does no one care that Ormond broke his oath? like this should be a stain on his rep, right?
I guess, because the only people there, of course, Daemon, Hugh, and Ulf. Did he break it to them? Yeah, but it's kind of like the Winter Wolves. You brought all your soldiers. They know what they're here for. It's a fight to the death to put somebody on the Iron Throne, and that's what we're here for. So people that bend their knees, they can easily rise back up. So I think that's what he was going for.
Yeah, you're right. I feel like maybe they should have shouted it from the rooftops as soon as he bent the knee. Rhaenyra sends ravens everywhere, so that he looks real bad, but she couldn't have known. Yeah, exactly. Hindsight's 2020. So I like the cold open. I liked, any extra little tidbits of Vermithor and Silverwing make me happy. Ulf and Hugh ride in Vanguard for Daemon there. Cool dragons. Cool to see those dragons. I want more of those two dragons in particular.
Yeah, I thought Ulf was going to shout that he wanted the high tower in Old Town when Daemon was like, "Do you want that castle?" I'm like, I would have said, "Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. King Consort. Give me the castle, please."
Yeah, totally. As it was kind of like Ulf was like, "Wait, am I the butt of the joke?" He kind of wasn't sure if you thought it was funny, but yeah. So good stuff with that cold open. So. Let's circle back to Daeron as we talk about this episode. When we talk to like the reveal of that Daeron was fake and stuff like that. So Rhaenyra's problems start pretty much right away. City's bankrupt. Turns out the Tywin Lannister had the money shipped out to different places. He's presumably dead at the Gullet. Jasper Wilde might have known, but Daemon beheaded him last episode. I don't even know what to ask you about this. Just want to commiserate for a second, because how difficult this is for Rhaenyra to come into this situation, right? Like this is more difficult than I feel like her father ever had to deal with.
Yeah, and you see it in the episode, because she's like, well, how what am I supposed to do? Like, what is my next step? I'm supposed to have money. This is supposed to be the easy part. I've taken the city. I have the capital. Now I get to rule. And it's like you get a handicap after handicap after handicap with the city being bankrupt and all the other issues.
Yeah. Yep. And so speaking of the other issues too, one of her first things that she seems very preoccupied with is, I want a proper coronation. And it's like, it's kind of interesting to me how quickly everyone's like, the war's over. We took King's Landing, the war's over. Like, Aemon's still at large, Ormond's still on the move. Presumably there are other houses that swore for the Greens that we kind of don't really ever talk about much. But she really wants the coronation. And then she meets with the High Septon, who I think is supposed to be Eustace from Fire and Blood. According to the subtitles in season 1, which is the last time we saw this guy, it's Eustace. So maybe they're combining him with the High Septon or something. And he says no. He says, I will not legitimize you. What were your thoughts on that scene?
I understand where he's coming from. Like, hey, I just legitimized your half brother. I anointed him in front of all the people of King's Landing. I can't immediately go and anoint you, especially without the confirmation that Aegon is dead. There's no body. Nobody had a funeral. You haven't shown his head to everyone, saying the challenge to my crown is out of the way. And it would just make him look bad. And she's like, well, I'm here. I'm on the throne. Everybody else left. It's like, I got the dragons. Like, he don't care. He don't give a damn about those dragons. That's not what the Faith to Seven is all about. That's dark magic to them. You guys rule because you have the dragons, not because they think you are anointed by God, no matter how the King Conciliator Jaehaerys wanted everybody to believe. Like, no, there are people who don't care about your quote unquote right to rule.
Yeah, totally. I did think it was interesting how quickly that became an antagonistic conversation where, the High Septon's like saying to her face, like, your dragons are evil, dark magic, don't make an enemy of the church. And it's like, damn, guy, this is your first meeting with the new queen, just going for it. But at the same time, he's not wrong. This is the Faith militant was in Maegor the Cruel's time, and that's where they got outlawed and all that stuff. But that was because they had so much power. And like, we see that still here in this era. Like, the Faith has a large amount of power, probably one of the largest power bases outside of like the high houses and stuff like that. But yeah, the dead Aegon thing is interesting. So she got that idea from Alicent. She goes to Alicent. She kind of is demanding, saying, hey, where's the gold? Where's Aemond? Where's Aegon? And Alicent's like, just declare him dead. Nobody knows what he looks like, which I feel like is kind of questionable advice.
Yeah, people know what he looks like. There were a lot of people attending to him while he was severely injured, and just to declare him dead. I mean, you can declare him, but you still gotta have a funeral. Find another. I don't want them to kill additional people, but in this instance, for our fictional sake, you might have to get a blonde-headed man from the city, burn him up a little bit, and put him on a pyre and let him burn by the dragons, just to have it out the way.
Yeah, it's also like this is one of those things they can do in the show that they couldn't really do in the book, because part of the reason Alicent says to do this is because everyone thinks Sunfire the dragon is dead. So she says his dragon's dead. Nobody knows what he looks like. Sunfire in the book is very much not dead. I don't think he's dead in the show. Like, killings. No one who's read the book thinks Sunfire is dead, because Sunfire has stuff to do. He'll be back at some point, I'm confident. But this idea of declaring Aegon dead is interesting to me, because on the one hand, like, I can see the sense here. Like, she wants to make her transition as uncontested as possible, really put the war behind them. She's not looking at it through the lens of, we're now at the halfway point in the Dance of the Dragons. She doesn't know that. She thinks she just won, Rhaenyra. But man, talk about a way to potentially get caught with your pants down. Like, declaring him dead. Like, if he pops back up anywhere, everyone's gonna know you're a liar.
Yes, 100%. Your word wouldn't mean a darn thing. And to do that, not have that funeral, with there's still, like you said earlier, there are still 3 armies. I know Ormond bit the knee, but you still have the army in the Stormlands, which they haven't really talked about. And we still have Kristen
Yeah.
Cole with his army that marched from King's Landing. Now Vagar's with them. They control Harrenhal, the seat that you guys thought was that important. Like we got to do something to make them think you have undisputed power. And it could have been a good plan, but probably not the best plan.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I kind of liked this episode. One of my qualms throughout this show has been wanting to feel more of this idea that like these are a bunch of very privileged people who can't agree who sits the Iron Throne, and they're making a mess of the Seven Kingdoms because of it. And I feel like Rhaenyra has often been portrayed as like having this divine right to rule, and like she would be the good leader. So it was kind of nice in this episode to get that moment with the High Septon where he's like, you don't have the proof. Like, I can't do that. Like, what if you're wrong? And she's just like, I was chosen the heir. And it's like, oh, there's the spoiled, Realm's delight, that we needed a little bit of that energy. And I think we got it here in this episode, which I liked a lot.
Yes. Like, I'm supposed to win. I'm supposed to be on top. And even in her small council meetings, about her right to rule and what they're doing, like how you see on one side you have Massaria speaking for the small folks, saying how much we need to provide for them. Then you have way on the other side Daemon like, we don't need to care about the small folk right now. We need to be ruling. That's what's going to win us this Iron Throne. And her just being like, I just want a coronation.
Yeah, totally. So I just want a party. Viserys would be proud.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think of the small council? Because she did make the call. So she left Bartimos Celtigar out in the cold along with her previous maester Gerardus. Left them on Dragonstone, said they betrayed me even just by, not helping when Sir Laurent locked me up. Mistake? Wise choice?
I think it's a mistake because it's all about looking the part and having the authority. You want to have a group of people who at least everyone believes are completely loyal to you, on your side at your small council. You don't want to see like, oh, she only has half our small council. Like, why would she leave those people over there? Like, people are going to ask those questions. And if you're saying they betrayed you, like, well, then kick them off the small council. Why are they even still members? Like, you got to make those choices.
Yeah, totally. And I feel like we do see this kind of feels like the birth of like Rhaenyra's next small council, or the start of it. I'm sure she's gonna have to add a few more people because like I don't think she's got a master of coin right now. I don't think there's a master of laws, obviously. So she'll have to fill it out a little bit. But yeah, that's a good point. And it's also making, yet another enemy because now Bartimos Celtigar at least is, slighted. The least of the Valyrian houses didn't need a lot to feel slighted. Now feels a little more slighted. But I like that she did bring Mysaria though.
Yeah, hey, Massaria has, as the white, her nickname, the White Worm. She has wiggled her way into a comfy seat of power. She's right next to the Queen. The Queen heeds her words and listens to her and really takes her counsel.
Yeah, totally. So on the council now, we've got Mysaria, Daemon, obviously. Corlys Velaryon still there is the hand of the king. Thankfully, voice of reason in the room. Keep Corlys around, please, because he's been off sailing at times. There have been periods where he's not in the small council, and things are always worse. So stick around, please, Corlys. And then the Maester Orwyle, who pleasantly surprised she kept around. That dude's a survivor.
They've been trying to cut his head off about 2 seasons. He's like, oh my goodness, let me.
Yeah, every other episode, it feels like somebody wants to cut off poor Orwyle's head.
Well, that, you know what? That's how you know he's a good Grand Maester. He was able to keep King Viserys alive for all that time, and he is making good political choices to keep his head on the shoulder and to serve the Iron Throne as a Grand Maester should.
Totally. So, I mentioned we were talking about Corlys a second ago. I do want to ask you about the bastard thing. So one of the things that happens in this episode is Corlys has dinner with Rhaenyra, and he is just straight with her. He's like, Alan and Adam are my sons. You might have guessed this. She's like, I hadn't guessed. And it's a little funny because, like, you know, we as viewers have been clued into this, but it is a question of how many people in the realm know this thing that the book kind of treated as an open secret. Rhaenyra didn't know. Now she knows. Corlys wants her to legitimize them. And when he asks her this, we get the sound cutting out again. We get the heartbeat, the pressure on Rhaenyra again. We find out later she doesn't want to be seen legitimizing bastards immediately because those whispers have followed her whole life because she had a bunch.
Yes.
What'd you make of this? That's thorny material.
And I think Rhaenyra is wrong. She should have definitely 100% legitimized. It would have just been easier. Like, hey, you are a bastard. Show that a bastard can rise up if their parent. Hey, I want them. I accept them in my house. They are of my blood. I want him to be my heir. I want them to carry my last name. That should have been an easy choice, especially when doling it out to a friend who's given so much to your war, to your claim. Yep. His son's dead because of your claim. He's lost the children who he claimed them. Like, hey, those are my grandchildren. I'm willing to put them on the Iron Throne. He lost his wife to this war. He asked, out of all this, what does he ask for? One thing. This is like the first time we ever heard Corlys. He didn't ask to be hanged. She went to him and gave him the pen. So this one thing he wants, make them legitimate, and you're like, I can't do it. It'll make my son look bad. It's like, no, this makes your son look bad. This showing bastards have no right.
Yeah. I think this was a huge misstep for Rhaenyra for sure. And you know, they needed a way to start the tension between Rhaenyra and Corlys, you know, to kind of drive a wedge there. But this was, it feels like a dumb way on her part. I mean, I don't have a problem with this as it's like shown in the episode. I did when it first happened. I was like, why wouldn't she do that? Why wouldn't you do that? It's so easy to legitimize them. Like, why is she hesitating? I like that they explained it in this same episode that's why she's worried it will cast doubt on essentially Joffrey, her own son and heir, who is a bastard. But yeah, I think this is Corlys' situation is so different, right? It's not like his house is contested. There's gonna be an argument over who should take over. It's like he's the last of his line, essentially at this point, the last with the name Velaryon. You know, Bela and Rhaena are Targaryens, and he has these two bastard sons, and he wants to make them a proper part of his family. And like you said, he's given so much. I don't think anyone has really lost quite as much as Corlys Velaryon in this war. You know, he, like you said, he lost Rhaenys, he lost both his kids, like he lost High Tide. So his seat of power is now ruins. It got sacked. And he lost his fleet and his ship, and he's just like, hey, I give my throw my family this bone. And she says no. So that's going to come back to bite her. Obviously. How could it not?
Obviously. Oh my goodness. In front of everyone. Like when they were doing the Dragon Seas and she was knighting them, and to look at that man dead in the eye and say, Adam of Hall.
Yeah. I did love in that scene. I loved that when they were like, oh, what name did you choose? He's like, Targaryen. And Rhaenyra's just like, oh, absolutely not. Like, I thought that cracked me up.
All right, no, buddy. Let's go dial that back. Dial that back for me.
I feel like they've made Ulf. You know, Ulf was one of the more fun characters in season 2, and I feel like he's been almost a little not sadder, but he hasn't been quite the source of humor for the first 2 episodes. So I was glad here in this episode that Ulf's just being funny, even though it's one more. They're really front loading the dragon seeds not getting treated well by Rhaenyra, which I didn't expect.
Yeah, I can see that always being an undercurrent, even in the books, like you don't see it as much until craziness happens. But in this, like, okay, these are, everyone, the lowborn people risen up because they may or may not. I mean, they do have that Targaryen blood in them, but you still want to keep you guys haven't had the proper training of high society, so they'll always keep them at an arm's distance. So that you're a hired soldier, hired gun, hired dragon rider to do our bidding.
Yeah, and I feel like that's fair. Keeping them at an arm's distance, I can understand. But like Daemon slapping Ulf in the face and kind of bullying them a little bit. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good choice. The one that got me in this one is Hugh just being like, where do I go live? You took this castle. I don't know where I sleep now. And she was like, let me get back to you on that. And I know his question was a little deeper than that. It was what kind of living can I expect? Like, now that we're here, you're the queen, I'm your dragon rider. But I do think not even being like, hey, let's get you base accommodations is kind of insane. Like, for the rider of your largest dragon, you're not even gonna like be like, hey, we have a room over here. Stay here until we get your house sorted. Like, is he sleeping on the street?
There are a lot of rooms. Where was Aemon sleeping? Like, take that spot.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, the dragon seeds, interesting stuff there. Not a ton, but I feel like we've gotten trickles of dragon seed stuff, and we'll probably get more later in the season. We did get a scene that kind of calls back to, some classic Thrones things, which is Rhaenyra hearing petitions. How did you feel about the whole petition sequence, which leads into the rat feast?
You know what? And I think she was experienced like everyone who goes to a new job. It's maybe it was something you've seen before. It's like what I'll say watching sports. I watch Tom Brady throw the ball. I've watched Chris Johnson be a running back and run the ball. But if you told me to go out there in an NFL game and do it, no, that's ridiculous. She's seen her father handle all of these petitions. She's seen the king rule or his hand rule and handle all the petitions. But now that you're having to do it, you have to think of a way to solve those problems on the spot. It's a little more difficult. And now you're doing it during wartime when you don't have the money or funds to handle anything they're doing. That's a different type of issue you're dealing with.
Yep. I do think it's interesting that so we saw Aegon do this last season where he's hearing petitions and he kind of he really wants to help the small folk. And Otto's Otto's his voice of reason there where he's like, hey, we can only promise so much. I thought it was interesting that Rhaenyra didn't really do that much better in that position than Aegon did. They both had the hand there being like, hey, maybe we can't promise that quite yet. But then obviously she's a little bit more, scheming, and she plays the long game better than Aegon. Because later in the episode, so we had the brothel madam Sylvie came back in that petitions basically put this idea out there that during the blockade and the gullet, people were starving in the city. Some of the nobles hoarded food. They bought all the food while people starved. And so Rhaenyra invites all those nobles for a feast and then gives them a bunch of rats that she cooked up and says, this is what people ate while you hoarded food. And I'm going to send my soldiers to your house and take back the food, which we see her later on give the food to the people. What do you think of this? Is Rhaenyra yet again making more enemies on her first day of work?
Definitely making more enemies. Now, were they wrong for taking that food when they knew there was a blockade? And we'll talk about Torrhen Manderly addressing the blockade, which was due to her own doing. I think there was a better way to handle it. Maybe asking the noble folks, not asking, being demanding, but saying like, hey, we need to check your stores and take some of that food back that you may have taken in haste than to say we are ransacking your stores, taking what we deem you took in haste. Those are just two different things.
Yeah, totally. It's like she said in the small council meeting, she wanted tribute from the great houses. Should have played it that way to the nobles too, I think, where it's, not necessarily making fools of them, making them feel, she doesn't have their back out of the gate. But putting it out there, like, we do need to redistribute this, like, full stop. And if people are like, you need to pay us for it, then she can be like, well, here's the deal. You shouldn't have done it in the first place. We're not paying for you for it, but it has to be done. And I will send my soldiers to your house to do it if I have to. Yeah, that's, I do feel like Rhaenyra definitely came out of the gate making a bunch of enemies here today.
Yeah, she, especially to nobles, it's like she went out there to win instead of getting them to help the realm. Like, if you believe you're helping, like, maybe you're not really, but like, hey, you're making me feel like this is more of a benefit to you, the queen, and to the people, to give myself a better chance at survival, then they would probably be more apt to just, hey, I'm gonna give a lot of the food back, not all of it. Everybody's gonna keep a little in their pocket, but yeah. I'll be more willing.
Totally. You might have more people like, say, Torrhen Manderly over there, who you just mentioned, who got introduced this episode. Love House Manderly finally getting like a main sort of character in one of these shows. He just thought it was pretty fun that Rhaenyra played this card. He enjoyed it. He said, "Yeah, you'll take my food too. I'm sure I deserve it. But I enjoyed how you went about it." So I guess on the bright side, she got Torrhen as an ally out of the whole affair.
Yeah, I love that 4 mile smile he had, especially the point that he brought up the blockade that caused this everything to happen was because of you. You had the Valyrian fleet out here, and that's the reason we don't have food now. So, but I think he does like the queen, like what she's about, and I almost wonder if he's going to take more of a role like Celtigar, if he's not going to be brought into the Red Keep, if he is going to be kept on Dragonstone, would he take more of a role he had from the books? I'm interested in that.
Yeah, that's definitely a fair question. Because Celtigar in the book, if I remember right, he's the master of like the taxes, right? So yeah. I don't remember if he was technically master of coin. I think he must have been.
Yeah, he was. That's why nobody likes a guy that's taking money out your pocket.
he came in and like early days of Rhaenyra's reign enacted a bunch of super unpopular things, including offering to let people witness dragon executions in the dragon pit for paying a penny to come watch people get eaten. So yeah, we don't have Celtigar there for that, and that's definitely a fair question because Torrhen Manderly is being introduced very differently here. So in the book, he's part of Jace's whole tour of the North, where Jace goes to all the different houses, which happens kind of like between seasons 1 and 2. We get that tail end of that with Cregan Stark. He makes a marriage pact with House Manderly in the book, where he promises his youngest brother Joffrey to marry into House Manderly, or to marry the daughter from House Manderly into House Targaryen. None of that happens here. So Torrhen and his brother Medric don't go down just to support Rhaenyra because of that oath. Torrhen's just in King's Landing already, living it up. So yeah, I think you might be onto something there, that like they could do something very different with Torrhen, because he's just kind of like an advisor to Rhaenyra because of that pact, if I remember right, in Fire and Blood. So I'm excited to see more of him.
No, I am. He does seem like an interesting character. Really, jovial. You like characters like that. Did they make that pack in House of the Dragon? Because I know he did it.
I don't think so. Okay. I don't recall it. I don't recall it ever being mentioned. If it was, it would have been in the season premiere of season 2 when Jace comes back to Dragonstone and he's kind of like tearily giving Rhaenyra his account of what was agreed, like by House Aaron and wherever else he went. But I don't think he mentioned House Manderly, and I think if he had, Torrhen would have mentioned it in this scene to remind us. So I don't think that pact exists in the show. I wonder if, she mentioned bringing Joffrey back to King's Landing in this episode because Joffrey's now the heir. So I wonder if that's going to be part of this season too, is since they're introducing Torrhen, the Joffrey's coming back into the picture. Maybe Rhaenyra makes that agreement with Torrhen. Like he pitches it. Hey, I've got a younger sister, like marry her into the royal family. And House Manderly is very wealthy. They're the wealthiest house in the North, and Rhaenyra is currently very poor. So I feel like there could be something there.
That's a good match for houses. Rich house in the north. You want to spread out your matchmaking much as possible. So I think that'll be a good one for them.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, Torrhen, cool introduction. I like that actor too, Dan Fogler. He was in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. He was in The Walking Dead. A comedy called Balls of Fury where it's like a dodgeball but with ping pong.
Oh yeah. I
So
don't, what, and so he's British.
no. So I felt like Torrhen Manderly is so, to me, when I saw that scene, I was like, he feels really Tyrion Lannister coded for some reason. Just the way he's talking and like the kind of smug way he's going about things. And he's like, just like Peter Dinklage, he's like the one American on the cast.
So you're saying I got a chance? I got a chance to be casted now.
if it can work for Dan Fogler, maybe it can work for you.
Yes.
So yeah, after all that, mentioned this a second ago, Rhaenyra goes and gives bread to the commoners with Mysaria. Again, this is flipping kind of how this went for her in Fire and Blood, where the small folk pretty immediately were like, oh, she's not that great. They're really making her like the champion of the small folk. I kind of liked it. I didn't really mind it too much. How did you feel about the bread distribution?
I think it was great, but I can't remember who said this in the episode, but they're like, hey, that's a short-term problem. We still don't have, the foods, the connections, the trade going through here to really manage this. So this does feel like, hey, I'm setting myself up for failure if I can't get those routes established. So
totally.
Short, small win. I know it felt she couldn't have her big coronation, so it felt good to have the people of the city cheering for her. But in 2 weeks, in a fortnight's time, when it's like, hey, I'm pretty hungry again, and you're like, food's coming, kind of. Let's see if they're still cheering.
Yep. So I think Daemon says that to her, and one of her answer to that is Daemon go to the Vale and get some tribute from Lady Jane Eyre, because she said she was going to send soldiers and she didn't, because Rhaenyra said she was going to send dragons and she sent little baby dragons. So she kind of asked for that a little bit. But yeah, Daemon was once married to a noble from the Vale, so he is very excited to go back there and raise hell again. But yeah, I liked that Daemon will be going to the Vale. I also really like their very long High Valyrian scene they had together, Daemon and Rhaenyra, where Daemon's basically like, let's conquer the world.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know how to feel about that.
No, and that's what makes it so cool, seeing her counsel and having Mysaria on one side saying, let's just do good by the people, and you got Daemon over here saying, we need to be dragon lords from Dorne to Essos, the free cities, all the way to where there are people with wings. Like, let's just take it all for House Targaryen and bring back Valyria. That's like, oh, you're taking the wrong message from that dream you had.
Yep. And that did give me flashes a little bit to season 8 Daenerys. Except it feels a little more natural here from Daemon, because he's always kind of been this chaotic dude. Like, you never know what he'll suggest next, and him suggesting, hey, we could just keep conquering, because he doesn't really want to rule. Like, there's a line in the season premiere where everyone is concerned about Daemon being the heir, and Viserys is just like, he doesn't have the patience for it. He'd get bored. And it's like, Viserys was so right. Daemon overhears this conversation. He kind of chuckles when Viserys says it, because like, he knows he's right. And I think we see that here, where it's like they got King's Landing and Daemon is already like, let's go conquer more stuff. So
yeah, we haven't even broken apart the rest of the armies yet or anything to just secure Westeros. And like, he's already looking ahead. Like, it's good to have foresight in certain things, but we still need to, you can have that idea. Let's finish this task first. Let's actually rule this continent and have the people like us and all that fun stuff, which I know it doesn't seem he cares about anybody liking him as long as he's in power.
I do think it does a little bit of a disservice to Daemon, this idea that he's so immediately like, the war's over, let's go do other stuff. Who cares? We won. Just because like Vhagar's still at large, they got this promise from Ormond, but like, you mentioned there's an army in the Stormlands. I can't remember how they've addressed that in the show, but if I remember right in the book, it's like Boros Baratheon has his army. He makes it look like they're going to march, and then he marches the opposite way, like into the hills. And he's like, I'll just hang out here until I have a better idea of who's going to win. But like, the point is, they may have gotten the Iron Throne, but the realm is not really settled yet. So it's kind of short-sighted for Daemon to be like, let's move on, when it's like, like I said, Aemond even is still out there. But yeah, I don't know how I felt about that particular aspect of it.
Yeah, there's still claimants out there. Like you said, Aemon's out there. They have Daeron, but we learn more about him, and even having him there, like, where's his dragon? Where's Daeron's dragon? Where's that army still marching? Like, it's a lot to settle before we conquer the world in one world domination, like we're Team Rocket from Pokemon, like one step at a time.
Yeah, totally. So bringing things back around to fake Daeron, since he's now come up, we spent some time with Rhaenyra and Alicent this episode, which is how Rhaenyra ultimately finds out that Daeron is a fake, because it's Alicent's son. Alicent sees him, and I like that Alicent isn't immediately like, you've been duped. It's like Rhaenyra just knows her well enough that she's like, oh, you don't know this kid. Like, she sees it in her face. They had kind of an interesting dynamic this episode where Alicent is almost giving Rhaenyra advice. Did you like what they did with Rhaenyra and Alicent in this episode?
Yeah. I did like it, because it's like Rhaenyra, of course, she's been the heir for all this time, but Alicent is the one with the actual experience in ruling the realm for a long period of time. Like, we saw Rhaenyra did sit on the small council for a short amount of time during season 1, but it was Alicent for years upon years who was helping her and her father keeping everything together. So it's like, how did you handle these situations? What steps did you take? It's a smart thing to seek the experience of others. So a good move by her. Don't put too much faith in Alicent. She still is on the wrong side. You still do want to kill her son. So I understand Alicent keeping a arm's length away.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So this is, there's been so much chatter back and forth online about how good of a decision it was to center Rhaenyra and Alicent's relationship as much as the show has. I think here is where the payoff for that should ideally happen, because this is an arc from the book that I've been waiting for, which is Rhaenyra takes King's Landing and Alicent's her prisoner. What does that look like for these two? And I think the show has set itself up for that to be even richer than in the book, because they have so much more history. But I'm hopeful that they're not going to become, it seems like they're immediately pretty chummy. And on the one hand, I'm like, it's so nice to see Olivia Cook and Emma Darcy acting opposite each other. Like, I love that for them. Be a little chummy. On the other, I'm like, I can't remember if Rhaenyra accused Alicent of the gullet being a trap or anything. I don't think she did. So they're kind of glossing over a few of their losses a little bit. Rhaenyra has lost 2 sons essentially because of Alicent's family. Rhaenyra's husband straight up led to Alicent's grandson getting brutally murdered in front of her daughter. Like, so there's some bad blood that I feel like we're kind of just sweeping under the rug. But I did really like their scenes together. And I like that Alicent is like, you don't know how terrible of a person you're going to become. And Rhaenyra is like, I'll stick to my morals. And she's like, time will tell. We'll see.
Yeah. That's just a good point. I just want to kudos to you on that. Just like, hey guys, we're kind of moving past everything just a little too fast for us, the audience. Like, we got to remember what happened between us this whole time.
Yeah, like, not that much time has elapsed since, Jaehaerys's murder. So it is. I hope that we get a little bit more of that. I feel like we're probably not gonna. I feel like they have to make some hard decisions about what they have time for when there's only 8 episodes in a season and they're trying to skim through stuff. But yeah, I want a little bit more antagonism between these two, just a little at least.
I like how they made a good reason why we don't see Jaehaera, Aegon, and Helena's daughter. She was like, you can only see her 1 hour a day. It's like, okay, we're not going to see that child during the season.
Yeah, that smacks a little bit of like, oh yeah, they didn't want to deal with children on set a little bit. I do think it's funny because like, I don't know if you saw this with like the gullet. Ryan Condal talked about the reason they didn't have Rhaenyra's two youngest kids, Aegon and Viserys, involved in the Battle of the Gullet is because it's not practical or safe to like shoot a big battle scene with like little kids involved. Did you see any of that stuff?
I didn't see that, and I'm thinking, I'm like, I mean, we're not going to have the real swords by the children. I hope.
Yeah, right. Like they could just shoot their parts in like a room and then like be done with it. Like they don't need to put them in the water, you know?
No, you can show a bunch of legs and show one hiding in the corner and then cut to everyone fighting. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not asking. I understand we're not going to throw the child in 10 feet of water. Don't worry, Ryan Condal. I promise.
Yeah. So there's some part of me that's like, I didn't really think about this with Jaehaera. I was like, that's a little weird. Like, I guess she's just with a nurse, and they're maybe keeping them separate so that it ensures Alicent and Helena's good behavior or something. But they didn't say that in the episode. So now I'm like, it kind of feels like they don't want to bother with kids on set. And I do think it's funny because this is such a huge production. They're figuring out all these complex stunts and setting people on fire and how to film sea battles with dragons. But when it comes to kids, Ryan Condal and the whole production is like, no, that's too much. We don't want to deal with children on the set.
Which is crazy because it's not a lot of scenes. Like that kid could probably be in there 2 or 3 scenes out of the whole 6 seasons. I mean, 8 episodes, and it'll make sense. I'm not asking them to have 10-minute monologues each episode. I promise I'm not.
Yeah, totally. It is just, it's a little funny to me that like for all the huge, incredible production things this show is cracking and figuring out, just like utilizing the kids as the place where it's getting hung up. And like, I know that it's challenging because like I remember seeing a behind the scenes for the Driftmark episode in season 1 where Aemon got his eye slashed, and Miguel Sapochnik directed that scene, and he was like, this was pretty hard just doing this safely, having these like 7 kids beating the crap out of each other, or however many kids. But yeah, so don't expect to see a lot of Jaehaera, I guess, but she is there in theory.
She's there in theory. You know what? We got Sir Rickard there in theory. So we still got hope for certain plots. I'm still hopeful.
Yeah, I think they'll do something with the two of them. I'm with you. But so Daeron, we've circled all the way back around. Let's finally talk about the fake Daeron plotline. So we find out at the end of this episode, Rhaenyra goes with Alicent to see Daeron, and Alicent doesn't recognize him because it's some rando kid. And he basically says Ormond dyed his hair, told him to pretend to be Daeron. And we find out by the end of the episode that's basically just as a distraction while Ormond takes the city of Tumbleton, which is going to be our next major set piece, the first battle of Tumbleton. The fake Daeron is invented wholly for the show, obviously. How did you feel about this plot line?
That seems like a hard plot line. Also, for the fact that, I mean, you had to fly on the back of a dragon with most likely Daemon, probably Ulf, and you never spoke. Like, shout out to you for having the guts to say, I'm not going to say a word, because, and I understand fear, being fearful of your higher up saying, hey, we'll murder your family if you do tell anybody. But I for the most part, I did not like the plot line. It was an interesting choice.
Yeah,
I will say that to make it make sense. Like, okay, he's a fake Daeron. They're gonna fly off, and now we're gonna go take the city. It's like a little convoluted. I'll say that.
That's the right word, I think, for that. There were leaks that they were going to do a fake Daeron, and this is before people had seen the episode. So I think it was because the multiple castings had leaked that like there was people took pictures from filming of Daemon with this fake Daeron. So like because they filmed it outside. So we had heard whispers this could be the case. I didn't dislike it as much as I expected to, because it wraps up in this one episode and it's done and whatever. But I do think they made it unnecessarily complicated. Like, and I don't. It's weird because they've kind of hinted that Daeron was coming. They've built him up as we're introducing Daeron, and like, I feel like this is a weird, slightly underwhelming way to do it. Like, even though we still have to spend time with the actual Daeron, yeah, the whole fake Daeron plotline, I don't know. It is weird. It was a weird choice.
It must be some crazy awesome reveal, because the Battle of Tumbleton is at least the first battle we know it's already happened off screen. So we must be finna get a lot of crazy accounts from that army about what happened, about what Daeron did, because we know he had that dragon burning up the town, at least in the TV show. So I can't wait to see
you think we already got first Tumbleton? I don't think we've gotten there yet.
You don't think we've gotten there for the taking of the city?
I think, because the first Tumbleton in the book is the one where there's a big betrayal. It's Tumbleton is basically in really bad shape afterward. So at this point, like, I don't know if that's first Tumbleton, we've lost quite a bit, because it wouldn't have had the big things about first Tumbleton, because the characters who are involved in it are not even there. So yeah, I guess I didn't even think about that they might just consider that first Tumbleton and then just do one big other Tumbleton at the end. Oof. I don't know if I like that.
I guess we'll see how they handle it. Maybe they've just taken the city. I do wonder, because we have the plot with the betrayals. We have another plot with knights coming there trying to find safe passage. It's because it seems like we're speed running. I'm like, oh, how are we gonna get there with all those things over the next what is it? 4 episodes? 5 episodes?
Yeah. I'm kind of expecting something with Tumbleton to go down in 6, because I've seen interviews with a few different actors where they all talk about 6 being their favorite episode of the season. And it was also directed by Lonnie Pariser, who did the Battle of the Gullet and the Red Sowing. So there's got to be something large in episode 6. But yeah, I'm Tumbleton is very different already, even just from what we know here in this episode. So in the book, first Tumbleton happens with Ormond is about to attack the city. Rhaenyra sent people there to defend it, and then stuff goes down. Here, like, Ormond's just kind of taking it off screen. No betrayals have happened aside from Ormond kind of being sneaky. So we'll definitely have to see how they handle that. But I feel like it's anyone's guess at this point, because even having Ormond set up there to start really changes the setup for the battle.
Yeah, it's going to be that changes that setting. Yeah, it's a lot that it's like you know what, they're keeping me on my toes, because I'm not sure how the pieces fit together now with him already being in Tumbleton.
Yeah, same. So we'll have to see. And I will say this, it did make me be like, what are you doing here, Daemon? That he took this fake Daeron. Like, they didn't mention Tessarion, the dragon, at all. Like,
you know what?
They're just going to leave Tessarion there with this army?
I guess. I mean, it's already been kind of, I guess, established in season 1 that a dragon rider can make his dragon stay. So with Rhaenyra, when he just told Sea Smoke, you stay there on Driftmark. So maybe that's what they're going for. Like, he might have told his dragon to stay, and since he wasn't talking, like, he could command his dragon to come with him and whatnot. Yeah, the excuse probably Daemon had in his head.
Yeah, I still think that's a fair point. They didn't articulate that on the show. So yeah, that was a mistake. They left the dragon there. The dragon's now in Tumbleton, along with Ormond's army. So Rhaenyra wants to know what he's doing there. So do I. And I guess we'll find out in episode 4. Any other parts of this episode you want to touch on?
I just want to say shout out to Stevie Toussaint for that monologue when he was with Rhaenyra and he just called it out. Your children are bastards. I felt that. I felt that anger. Like, how dare you deny me that? Deny this one thing I'm asking for. That was probably my favorite touching scene in this episode.
Yeah, that was a good one. I feel like this really is Steve Toussaint's season of the out of what we've gotten so far. Like, he's always been great as Corlys, but this season it really feels like it's come out of the gate with some really good material for him, and he's just like absolutely killing it. I like that scene too. It gave me flashbacks to his brother Vaymond in season 1 in that episode you mentioned, the Lord of the Tides, where he accuses them of being bastards in the middle of the throne room. I got a flash of that when he's just like, they're bastards, and I accepted them anyway. Yeah, bad move there, Rhaenyra.
Yes, I'm happy that Sir Largen didn't pull a Daemon with Corlys. We don't need that right now.
Totally. And the other actor I gotta shout out here is, of course, Emma Darcy. I think if this is the episode that should get Emma Darcy an Emmy nom, I feel like this one really gave them the room to like flex their acting chops and really go deep into the material, because it's the only time in this entire series that one character has gotten this amount of focus, and I think they really made the most of it. So yeah, if there's justice, we shall see.
100%.
So as we wrap up here, just wanted to very briefly here at the end of the show, because there are some other fantasy and sci-fi shows going on right now. Are you watching anything else at the moment?
You know what? I just finished Widow's Bay on Apple TV. Good. You know what? No, I got one more episode left. Don't spoil me.
Oh, nice. I will not.
I got one more episode, so that's been very enjoyable. I watched the first episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender season 2. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna keep this one up.
That's fair. I gotta say, I really didn't love the first season of Avatar. I've liked the second season a lot more than I expected to. Like, I kind of went in being like, this is probably not going to be great, and like I want to say I'm on episode 5 right now, and like it's been pretty fun. It's made me laugh a lot. I feel like they're getting the humor of the cartoon down like really, really well, where it's the actors are doing it, but also like the writing and direction and like the editing, like the camera is holding long enough on certain characters, and like Avatar always had like quick cuts for the humor. So like they're all on the same page with that. The main thing it's got working against it is I think there are 1 or 2 actors who are a little weaker than the rest of the cast, and that's a hard thing to get through.
Yeah,
but yeah, I liked it.
All right, they're 1 for 1 this show, and definitely we watched the first episode of X-Men 97 season 2.
Oh, nice.
That's the only way I want to see X-Men. I don't want to see them live action. They've nailed it in this animated series.
Yeah, I didn't even realize I was out. I liked the first season. I need to get on the second. Love me some X-Men.
Yeah.
The other one that's coming out, or that has come out by the time you're watching this, viewers, is Silo season 3. Had its premiere on July 3rd. I am very excited to watch that because I like the first 2 seasons a lot. Haven't seen it yet though.
Yeah, everyone tells me I need to watch Silo, and it's like on the list, but it's sometimes there's just so many things. It's like, all right, this is gonna get pushed back. What else am I watching?
Yeah, I feel that Silo's great. It's definitely worth the watch. But yeah, there are just so many shows right now, and of course we're watching House of the Dragon a lot, so is what it is. Anything else you want to shout out before we head to the credits?
Oh no! I think this was a great episode. This is probably my favorite episode of these first 3. So I know the last one got the highest rating of the series. I can't wait to see what the ratings are going to be for this episode.
Yeah, same on all counts. I loved this episode. This was the first one, as someone who's read Fire and Blood, where I was able to really shut off that part of my brain a little bit and just get swept up in it, because what was on screen was so compelling the whole way through, that even when they made weird choices like fake Daeron, you know, some part of me was like, this is odd, but I still was able to go along with it more than some of the previous changes, like, the stuff with Alicent and Jasper Wilde in the last episode and whatever. I think the choices they made were all interesting, and it was all well written enough that, yeah, I was super invested. And again, Ramin Djawadi, gotta shout it out. The score and the sound design were amazing in this episode, and they carried a lot.
100%, 100%.
But yeah, that's our show. As always, this has been Take the Black. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. Find us wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify. We're on all those major platforms. We do this every week, and during House of the Dragon season, it's every week directly after the show airs. So yeah, come hang with us as we break down the rest of the season. I'm Daniel Roman, editor of winteriscoming.net, where we're writing about these shows pretty much every day. And who are you, Mark? Where can people find you?
Hey, Marq Nettles of House of Nettles. Find me on TikTok. You want to search up house_of_Nettles. If you see this face, you're in the right place. And on Instagram and YouTube as well.
Excellent. And from both of us, it's been fun. And we'll see you next week for a non-Rhaenyra episode that is probably going to involve a lot more characters. So till then, we'll catch you in Westeros.